thank you for all of you to be here. And of course, I'm starting to welcome you to the International Association of Curators of Contemporary Art at the Cultural Institute of Mexico in Miami. It is a pleasure for me to meet all of you today in another edition of IKT Curators. I thank Guadalupe Garcia, founder of the AMP Project, for her interest in making Mexican culture visible, attracting great and renowned curators and artistic directors of museums and galleries that promote the unity of communities in South Florida.
I founded the AMP Project 4 years ago from my experience for a long time in museums as curator of big museums, national museums in Mexico, the Palace of Fine Arts and the National Museum of Art. And I always felt as curator that I was dealing with something behind the scenes that I couldn't really perceive. I decided 4 years ago to take a course at Sotheby's Institute of Art in New York about the art market. So being in New York, studying the art market, talking with curators, with artists in New York and galleries from the mid-tier who were really struggling to survive, I realized that instead of fighting back something that is so big, we just need to act different. We need to find new patterns of action. And I had many experiences with ants, like we're real ants. In that same trip, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I had ants in my bed. So I was wondering, why am I surrounded by ants, you know? And I started researching more about ants because I found them everywhere. Even at the Guggenheim Museum, there was an artist with an installation with ants. And I was like, okay, they're everywhere. And he was like, oh, they're everywhere, you know? That's how ants are. That's their nature. Oh, they interconnect, they act together, but they don't have a hierarchy. They're all in these horizontal lines. And I was like, okay, they're really telling me something that I should see. I was walking out with my friends, my peers from Sotheby's, and there was a lot of people in the streets, and I suddenly have like this out-of-body vision, and I saw ourselves like the ants, and I said, oh, but we are the ants. Why aren't we connecting? Why aren't we seeing to each other? Instead of trying to market the big thing to accept us, to include us. Why are we empowering these big structures instead of creating our own structure? And we started creating this connection with people who are in 3 different continents. And we started creating like this synergy together of hearing each other, knowing that we are not alone, especially with the isolation and the lockdowns. It was very important for artists not to feel alone. And they were presenting the projects and hearing back. And my other practice, well, my practice is a spirituality. So I'm focused on merging art and spirituality as it was since the beginning of times. Art and spirituality were one thing. We have been separating and dissecting a lot of things that before there was a unity. So I'm working toward this re-encounter of art and spirituality in terms of getting together, in terms of listening to each other, but also in terms of internalizing our experience to the heart and connect from the heart. And I really think this moment is urging us to go to the heart, to connect from there, and it's very powerful because there's nothing that can defeat the heart.
My name is Rosie Gordon-Wallace, and I'm the founder and curator of Diaspora Vibe Cultural Arts Incubator, an incubator space dedicated to nurturing, promoting, and exhibiting artists from the Global South. now being called the Black Hemisphere, which is really interesting how as we move forward, the names can change. I am a Caribbean woman who is an immigrant on these lands of indigenous folk, past and present in Miami. But it is important for us to have critical analysis and to be able to have a curatorial language that is familiar with our region. We do the heavy lifting of the funding. We have to stop working for free. We have to stop working for passion. We have to stop working for opportunity. I'm not using that word again. I want to leave by saying no idea is a real idea without a budget. But I want to be able to leave a template that is one that is funded. Most of the work that I personally have done has been through passion and opportunity. Those channels should be closed now unless we can fund the work.
I am the resident curator at the Little Haiti Cultural Complex, and I also work at the Perez Art Museum as the director of education. And today I will be presenting an exhibition from the Little Haiti Cultural Complex that was shown during the Miami Art Week Art Basel season of 2020, called Global Borderless Caribbean. This was the 12th iteration of this particular program, entitled Focus Miami, and it had 3 components. Contemporary visual expression, which was an outdoor exhibition on the exterior of the building, recapping the 12 years of this particular exhibition program. Local Global, which was inside of the gallery at the Little Haiti Cultural Complex. And then Performance Femme, which was a one-day performance program featuring women artists from Miami.
I'm an artist that works with fibers, but I'm here to present a FAMA, Fiber Artist Miami Association. FAMA started, we co-founded FAMA with Aurora, 2 other artists, local artists, Aurora Molina and Alina Rodriguez Rojo. And this was at the beginning of the pandemic. And right now we are hitting the 100 members with more than 11 nationalities from all walks of life. I'm very proud to include a lot of you here, curators, art professors, art teachers from Miami-Dade, and just fans of the fiber arts. So the goal of FAMA is basically to promote the advancement of the fiber arts as a contemporary art form, and also the education not only of our members, because we have very knowledgeable members about techniques and concepts and, well, you know, but also the education of the general public. And last, I want to leave you with a thought that FAMA has taught us all, and it's the power of the group, that none of us individually would have gotten as far as FAMA took us, and hopefully will take us.
We are the creators, hosts, and everything else of Historias de Arte en Podcast. It is a podcast about art history in Spanish.
During the pandemic, the podcast platforms and all the podcasts, they grew a lot. So I proposed, Natania, so why don't we produce a podcast and put it online? So we did it with a lot of effort, a lot of learning, a lot of work, and more work. And it is now, it's on. We have almost been in a year online. It is about art history, but about stories of art history. We want to make art history, available to everybody. Available to people that wants to go to museums, that travel, that to understand a little bit more of what they see.
We are convinced, absolutely convinced, that knowing art history or the histories within art, the history of one work of art or the history of the artist, makes your life better. we are convinced of that.
Part of our mission to exhibit artists that didn't have an art gallery, that were not represented, but we didn't work and neither want to work as a gallery. We wanted to be as a platform. So when we created the foundation, we said, okay, you are going to invite important artists, and we have the advantage that we are not competing with the gallery, but at the same time, we are going to create dialogues that are not only between the artworks, but also how can we construct together social imagination and understand the moment that we are living.
Most of you know me from Art Scene 365, which is, I like to see it as a platform for promoting the arts in South Florida and Miami. And since 2018, more or less, I've been dedicated through Art Scene to basically document and promote what's happening in Miami. I joined the International Lab for Art Practices for Uncool Artists, which is basically a collective based in Brooklyn, but that originally originated in Brazil, and they have a large network in Brazil. And in that community, basically, it's almost like, it's not necessarily classes, but it's you get together with other art professionals, artists, curators, etc., to talk about your projects, to actually be accountable on how to move those projects forward, etc. But the idea of Uncool Artists, the name came from that letter that Sol Lewitt wrote to Eva Hess, saying, don't worry about being cool, don't worry, just do. And that's the philosophy of Uncool. Just do, and then things will come. Things will come to you.
Everybody has done amazing projects, and we don't have a documentation. So that is my heart. Among all the things that I do, that's what I do. I do a lot of printing. I produce a magazine for 10 years. It's called Irreversible Magazine. My project is called Irreversible Project, and I started that project in 2006. I work at the Miami-Dade College. They have a campus in Hialeah, and we do have an amazing gallery. Been working there for 5 years, and I have opened the doors for our emerging artists and our local artists and our organizations.
I have a project that it's like 2 days old, no 1 year old, maybe 2 or 3 days old. It's a platform that promotes visual artists and also at the same time supports social causes that I can't be in this life without doing part of my job, helping the social cause, helping others. So that's why I'm trying to mix both passions, and I just started this platform which is called Articurated, and the plan is to promote this artist by doing this kind of exhibition, and each artist will choose their nonprofit or their cause that they want to support.
This is a moment where all of us have to ask what's important to us and what are our values. And I 100% agree with Guadalupe that instead of following into what everybody else, and especially in the art world, thinks is accurate and correct and important, it's up to us to redefine it. And so this is part of what this film is about. Also, the other thing I'm really interested in, we talk a lot about ecology. Well, I think we have a lot of work to do in internal ecology. And that's like, internally, we need to really examine and reform, yeah. Who we are. We have to let go of a lot of things that we've identified with and a lot of ego identity things in order to transform.
I love that conversation, and I'm proud to be part of FAMA. And I'm a fiber artist, and I know very many of you in the room. It's really lovely to be here with you today. And It's the first time in my life where I haven't been working formally for an institution. It's a big shift in my life. And I'm starting a platform, so it's at the beginning. It hasn't been around for a year. It's the very early stages, and I'm calling it Artnez. It's actually my partner's last name. His last name's Martinez, just taking out those letters to say Artnez, which for me is about art's embodiment. And one of the things that I would like to contribute to Miami is to provide a space for actions. And now what does that mean? An action that an artist wants to do, whether it's a performance or it could be sculptural, it could be involving the body. It really has no limits or bounds. And as someone who's been working as a curator and administrator alongside my practice, one of the things that I feel gets missed in exhibition planning and requesting funding and trying to brand an institution so that it basically is seen as an entity, I think what really happens is that we miss the art. Like we actually miss the performative aspect of art and what goes into making it. Write a list down of what artists need, and the things that are on the top of my list are maybe not what some people have written in the past when at certain panels, but I think about food, and I think about meditation, and I think about being grounded in the project, and I think about building a community around projects.
To introduce ISPA Fest. I'm one of the directors of ISPA Fest. ISPA Fest is a Hispano-American Art and Culture Festival. I want to talk about ISPA Fest. ISPA Fest have 3 years and a half, and we are trying to bring together the communities, Hispanic American community in Miami through the art. We want to help artists in his formation with our curator-in-chief, Felix Suazo. It's because all of these artists with root in Hispano-American or immigrants, they need help to introduce here. We are trying to do that with the festival.
I believe the ANT project here is like in working action, like interconnecting with other people. I was born and raised in Mexico, so here it's like, okay, I'm back to my roots, and it's really interesting to be here today, learning how everyone is like planting a seed here locally in Miami to do like a bigger project. So
I'm going to present to you the Harvest Project, which is an art venture that I created in 2014 with the mission of promoting art appreciation and art collecting. We have about 10 different programs targeted to mainly teenagers and adults, with the idea of inspiring them to appreciate art and collect art. We want to bring art into your homes, into the homes of everybody. My dream as an artist is to inspire as many people as I can to collect art. We think of Harvest Project as a creative alternative to an art gallery. We consider ourselves like the backstage of a gallery. And during the pandemic, I decided to rethink the whole programming, and I put a Harvest Project in a box and decided to send it directly to the homes of people. So I created the Ziconia Art Collection Program. My dream is to reach the number of delivering 1,000 artworks each year, and we're very close.
In this Cultural Institute of Mexico in Miami, we have implemented the ANT project methodology as part of our exhibitions. We have exhibited 5 powerful group shows that generate dialogues between the participating artists and the local Miami communities. We have had several activities implementing the ANT project methodology to generate work synergies and collect inspiration. We will continue to promote these activities as part of our program.